our superlatives every Monday at or about this time. Mike, you are up.
I'm going to start with Tua. And Tua, what he's doing in Miami, certainly their season is getting away from them, but they've won their last 4 games, and the last 3 have been starts by Tua coming back from injury. And for a guy, all everybody is trying to do is replace Tua, right? Deshaun Watson will eventually get traded there. Who's going to be the quarterback for Miami? All Tua can go out and control what he can do. So the last 3 games, all wins. Yesterday it was against Carolina. He's completed 80% of his passes in the last 3 starts, 220 yards a game. Now, 3 touchdowns, just 1 interception. It's not like he's lighting it up from the touchdown standpoint. But you get this guy just goes out and all he can do is control his play. And when you're completing to the tune of 80%, 220 yards a game, I know that's not a ton, but it's not turning the ball over. It's giving your team a chance with completions and moving the chains, and they've led to 3 wins in a row with him back at start. Like I said, they won 4 in a row. Jacoby Brissett started that game 4 ago. So Tua's doing what he can to try and say, hey, I want to be, and I think I can be the quarterback of the future for this team. I don't know if he will be, but he's been throwing at a pretty nice clip completion-wise the last few games.
And is it a coincidence that this all spun in the right direction after the window closed on the trade possibilities and the talk ended about Deshaun Watson to Miami? And it could be once we got to the point where they no longer had to compartmentalize, they no longer had to talk to him about it. It wasn't, because it was a thing. It was definitely a thing for Tua. And why would it not be? I've barely had a chance to show what I can do, and you're going to throw me overboard for Deshaun Watson? Well, now that possibility has been sealed off, he's had a chance to go out and develop and play and perform and maybe make the Dolphins think twice about moving on from him. And that's all he can do. That's what I said he should do back in August, Mike. If you're upset about it, go do what Tom Brady would do. Get pissed off and go play better than Deshaun Watson and make them realize that they shouldn't be thinking about anyone but you as their quarterback. So I agree with you completely on that one. First one for me, and I will call this the wait till your father gets home, a.k.a. Daddy's going to kill Ralphie, because even though Kendrick Bourne had a spectacular touchdown pass in the back of the end zone, spectacular, corner of the end zone, somehow jammed a foot into the ground for his first score of the day. And then he had a great catch and run where I saw the next-gen stats say there was a 3% chance he was going to take that to the end zone. He went 41 yards. Supposedly the yards after the catch, it was only going to be 7. He went 36, and I don't know how they figure all that out. But he did spin around to the edge, made a nice juke, walked the tightrope, and got in. The one moment, and I pointed this out on Twitter, and it's funny because, you get some of the venom from the people who are upset about the taunting rule. Here's been my point about the taunting rule. If they're going to call it, they got to call it all the time. They got to call that. Did you see that? At the very end, if you're going to call it, you got to call it. And he did. He got away with one. A really sneaky, sly Tyreek Hill throwing up the deuces at an opponent. That's exactly what they've told guys not to do. And I think it's great that they didn't call it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to get the guy in trouble with the league. My point is this. You know who saw that. And if you didn't see it then, he saw it after the fact. When Bill Belichick sees this, holy crapola, there's going to be hell to pay in New England. He's going to wish he'd gotten flagged, because getting flagged was going to be a heck of a lot better than what he's going to get from Bill. Because we had come to the point, I think, in the last week or two, Mike, where we accept the fact that this is the way it is. These are the rules. You must follow them. Don't do that. We saw it with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. No, you don't do that. You don't point at the opponent on the way to the end zone. You know it's going to be a flag. So my point in all this is, for all the praise Kendrick Bourne thinks he's going to get in the film room today, he better be ready to hear about what happens when you give up 15 yards of field position and you kick off from the 15 instead of the 30, or the 20 instead of the 35, wherever the hell they kick off now, the 20 instead of the 35, and what that can mean to a team and what that can do to a lead. You know he's going to hear that from Belichick today.
I can just see Bill rolling the tape and freezing it right when the deuces go up, and just freezing it and say, you got away with one, but let me tell you, I guarantee you the refs are going to hear about it themselves for not calling that. For consistency's sake, you cost us those 15 yards. there's going to be hell to pay, young man. So you're right. That does not miss the ire of, or the eye of Bill Belichick. Completely agree. And the second point, and maybe more important, great Christmas Story reference. And for those of you who have not seen Christmas Story, make sure you watch it when it's on around Christmas. One of the great movies of all time. All right, my second superlative is, hey, one way to win it is control the ball. San Francisco, we counted them for dead a few weeks ago. They've won 3 in a row. Right now they're in the 6th slot for the playoffs. And in those last 3 wins, they scored 95 points. And each game, they've had a season best rushing. 3 games ago, it was 156 yards against the Rams, then 171 yards against Jacksonville, and 208 yards against Minnesota. So what an incredible job they've done in rushing the ball. And to go along with that, they've won time of possession starting the 3 games ago, held it for over 39 minutes, then held it for over 38 minutes, and yesterday over 37 minutes. So you control it. And this is a team that went through the MASH unit as from the running back position, you know, where they got a rookie running, and then Deebo Samuel starting to run the ball a little more, much like Cordell Patterson, wide receiver, and then doing some running back stuff as well. So kudos to that O-line, the running backs, all that's going on for the amount of points you're scoring, the amount of time you're holding on to the ball, and the amount of yards you're getting rushing the ball, especially if you get into the playoffs and you got to go play in cold weather. That travels. Running the game, running the ball, time of possession, that travels from warm to cold, cold to warm, wherever. So kudos to San Fran in that running game.
Yeah, amazing how they've turned it around. The storm clouds were gathering for the 49ers a few weeks ago, starting with that Monday night against the Rams 2 weeks ago. Win, 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 and they are right back in the thick of things. Currently the 6th seed in the NFC. Last one for me, and congratulations to the New York Giants. The streak is over. Here's the streak I'm referring to. Back in 1994 on a Monday night, they retired the jersey of Lawrence Taylor at halftime. They lost that game. The next year, they retired the jersey of Phil Simms with Chris there and his flock of seagulls haircut. They lost that game. Earlier this year, they retired the jersey of Eli Manning at halftime of a game against the Falcons. They lost that game. Finally, they retire a jersey of one of their Super Bowl era heroes, and they go on to win the game. Just barely. And it was exciting, and it could have gone the other way. But the Giants beat the Eagles and moved to 1-3 in games during which they retire the jersey of one of their Super Bowl heroes. Now, it'll probably be a while before they have another one of those moments to worry about. I think 1-3 is probably going to be locked in for the Giants for some years to come. And that's good news for John Mara, who actually, Mike, when he spoke to the crowd during the Manning ceremony, got booed. And he heard it. And he admitted it after the fact. So this time around, best way to avoid it, or at least minimize it, don't speak. He learned, don't speak. Never went to the podium. And Michael Strahan mentioned ownership at one point, and that sparked some boos, but not like it would have been if Mara would have gone to the podium. So smart move by him. Good news for the Giants. They finally get a win on a day that they honor one of their all-time greats.
Yeah, listen, that was a great moment, but you're right. You know, if losses are associated with, you know who knows that? Fans. So fans are like, okay, listen, I love honoring the guy, but this isn't doing us very much on the field. So good move there, too, by not speaking for ownership. And you're right, next. I don't know who's next. I don't know where they're going next. It's probably going to be a while before that happens again, unless we're missing somebody who's going to be in that position soon. And I can't think of them off the top of my head.
Saquon Barkley was supposed to be the one, but, you know, the nature of the position, we've talked about this before, you can't predict that injuries aren't going to happen to a running back, and they've happened a lot. So I think the next guy to have his jersey retired is not on the roster clearly, may not be in college, may not be in high school, may not be Bourne. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see how that plays out.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.